Ever since the R3 came out, I thought it was going to be my absolute most amazing camera that I could ever use for wedding photography. But as soon as the price got announced, I thought to myself that perhaps it's a little too rich for my blood. And I'm happy that I waited because shortly thereafter, the R6 Mark II came out, and that's what ended up being the current camera that I use for an everyday shooting, making videos, as well as my workhorse camera for all of my weddings. However, since you and I both know that the R1 and the R5 came out, most likely Canon is going to lower the prices of the current standing cameras so that we can enjoy possibly getting hands on better equipment. And that's exactly what happened. As it currently stands, the R3 right now is above $1,000 more than the R6 Mark II. And that's when I started asking myself, is it time to pull the trigger and upgrade? But a closer look revealed that the R3 and the R6 Mark II are actually not that different. So setting aside a couple of knickknacks like control, eye focus, and all that jazz, the actual cameras are not too distant from each other. They both feature the same 24 megapixel sensor. They both give me the peace of mind of dual card slots, and they both do downsampled 6K into 4K. And those are three of the most important features that I would need as a wedding photographer. So I started asking myself, what is it about the R3 that caught my attention in the first place? And I came down to the realization that it all boils down to ergonomics and battery life. Now, what do I mean by that? So I don't know about you guys, and I obviously can't speak for anyone, but I have pretty good NFL-sized combine hands. I can probably throw a pigskin a quarter mile like Uncle Rico. And so ergonomics is the first thing that I look towards the R3. Why? Because it's got the integrated grip and it's very easy to manage, probably feels great in the hands. I actually held it once and it felt amazing. And so as a dude with big hands and photographer with big hands, you and I both know that we're going to be carrying heavy equipment for the foreseeable future. At least me, I can't speak for anyone again, but I shoot weddings upwards of 4, 6, 8, sometimes even 10 hours. And I want a camera that feels good in the hands. Now, you might be thinking that's going to be a heavy camera to lug around, but it's not too much of a concern considering that I like to wear dual harnesses and it's probably hanging by my waist side most of the time. But I want a camera that's going to be a pleasurable experience and it's going to feel great in the hands. I'm not too worried about the weight because once I actually grip a camera like the R3, the palm actually, I don't know about you guys, but for me does most of the heavy lifting. It activates my forearm, my bicep, tricep, and doesn't feel as much of a burden on my hand as opposed to gripping a camera like a regular R6 for most of the duration of the day. And you and I both know if we shoot weddings alike that the fingers are going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And I oftentimes find myself, trying to stretch them, cracking my knuckles, all that stuff. So that is why I think that I would prefer a body like the R3. And that's why it essentially got my attention in the first place. The second thing that I gravitated towards the R3 for is obviously the battery life. With its own Canon battery life, I think this is going to probably last everyone an entire day of shooting, and I can probably go on a limb and say that I can get away with shooting an entire wedding on just that one battery. Sometimes it's a burden for me to have to switch at the most inopportune times, and by having a lengthy battery that's going to give me the peace of mind that I won't have to swap it out mid-shoot and mid-wedding, dare I say, is obviously an added bonus. So for those two reasons and two reasons alone, I thought to myself, you know what? Now that the R3 is going to come at a cheaper, more discounted price, I think it may be time to upgrade. But I also thought to myself that $1,000 is still a good amount of change to start dishing out based on just two features that I could get elsewhere. And that brings me to the problem that I solved personally, and I want to introduce you to the good old-fashioned battery grip. Now, right now, I have a battery grip that I just picked up for my R6 Mark II, and in the hand, it feels exactly like an R3 would. It has the perfect amount of weight. It gives me the nostalgic feel of those beefy DSLRs like the Canon 6D Mark II that I used to own. And when it comes to vertical shooting, I can simply use the same dials in the same fashion where I photograph horizontal. So the beefiness of the battery grip paired with the added extra battery that's in it is going to solve those two same problems that I was looking to the R3 as a problem solution. So what am I trying to say? An R6 Mark II with a battery grip is the closest thing to an R3 that you will probably get. Now, if you value all those other knickknacks that are probably well documented, and I'm not going to get into that, then by all means, if you think spending still to this day in 2025 the extra $1,000 to get an R3 and maximize those features, thinking that you are most likely going to be using them, then absolutely pull the trigger. It's your money. You do whatever you want with it. But if you are still on the fence about whether or not you're going to get those things and instead would rather spend $250 on a used battery grip, which is what I did, then definitely go this route and solve the two problems that you and I may have sharing in similarity. So there you have it. I wanted to hook you up with this information in case you and I shoot on the same bodies or you're actually on the fence about the same exact problem that you are having. Instead of spending $1,000, you could just spend $250, maybe $300 on a used battery grip. I hooked you up with the link in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. And if you are on the fence and I definitely tipped you over, this is the time to get it because I understand that the BGR10, which is this grip right here for the R6 Mark II camera, is currently discontinued. So if you can get your hands on it, that would be great. If you got a little value out of this, stick that thumb you know where. And if you want to check out more camera gear like this one, stick around by subscribing. I would love to have you. My name is Francis, Destination Wedding Photographer, and I will see you in this video.